Thank you so much for staying tuned. Well, on this discussion segment, it's all about skills acquisition. Yeah, skill acquisition, the impact in socio-economic development. A man once told me that the youths don't want to learn a trade. They don't want to learn skills. Well, he is a carpenter, what you know as a furniture maker. He had to be modest. He said, look, Will, as I'm talking to you right now, nobody wants to learn. Everybody wants to make quick money. Everybody wants to get rich. They don't see the dignity in labor anymore. What about our mechanic workshop? When you talk about automobile workshop, then you get to see persons willing to learn. All of a sudden, these guys are not complaining that the youths are not willing to learn anymore. And they are the one crying that there is no job. Now you get to see two opposing effects just ramming into each other. They are saying no job. But these people are like saying we are willing to teach, but nobody is willing to learn. With the high rate of unemployment, I think it's high time these youths started acquiring skills. Some youths are of the opinion that yes, after skill acquisition, after acquiring skills, what next? They don't have the takeoff grant. They don't have the takeoff loan. They don't even have power to put into practice what they've learned. That the market, the economy, taxation, and all that is also so harsh on them. It's like learning to forget. It's like learning to just overlook, underlook anything about what they've learned. Anyway, with me here in the studio to do analysis, it's I like to call him the voice of the masses, the political analysts. When you go to hear food on the table, you won't hear or see all these things happening. Join me to welcome Obaraye Osahon. Obaraye, welcome to the show.
So
I appreciate your coming.
Thank you so much.
We are still expecting the likes of Barrister Al-Hadi Amin Alao. When it comes in, we'll have a more robust discussion. Youths and skill acquisition. You get to see the elderly complaining that the youths don't want to learn, that they want to get rich quick. The get rich quick syndrome is impeding the acquisition of skills. Hence, youths are still complaining of high rate of unemployment. Obaraye, take it up from there. How do you feel about this scenario?
Thank you so much, my brother. I think this discussion for today is apt. Reason being that it's what also will put food on the table of the common man. So whatsoever will put food on the table of the common man is what I always welcome. We've spoken about youth empowerment. To me, it's a very, very welcome development. But the skill acquisition issue you are using to correct is also welcoming. But we must tell ourselves the truth. Is Nigeria a place where people that acquire skills is being celebrated? Let's use the issue of the BSc, NC, HND, OND syndrome in this terrain we are. First of all, you would know what it takes for those that say they have NC, or neither those that say they have OND or HND, then a BSc. So there's already a lacuna in the government trying to, first of all, place all those people in the same category, which in a state society, they are in the same category. Even that of the NC is supposed to be number one because those people have been taught on how to teach another person. So, but in Nigeria, when you tell somebody, they look at you as an inferior person. Also coming to the issue of skill acquisition. Is Nigeria also a place where those that went to acquire skills, where you celebrate them? No. We are in a place where both the old, the young, welcome and want to see everything shiny and quick. That is why you see both the old and the young easily also fall prey for the 419 people. And they want to just hear it. That is why you see people sold houses and their life income for plan well. Even when everybody knew how plan well, did not plan them well. MMM came, and even when we were shouting, the same people invested again on MMM. And MMM squandered the MMM. So, my brother, whenever you come with get rich quick syndrome, Nigerians want to quickly get. To me, the base is what is shaky, because if we have a government that really welcomes people with handwork, people will be encouraged to go do handwork.
No, but still, the government of they've been encouraging you get a skill, you go learn a trade. That's what they've been singing with, and they've been having so many skill acquisition centers for the youth to come learn to establish themselves. So it's not the part of the government for what they are doing.
Let me. So you know, you are a journalist, I'm a politician and a street person. So I will guide you on this angle. What the government do, the likes of us, we've also gone. They get a place after taking billions to say they want to teach the following people how to train people.
Taking billions in war terms because they have the money.
Listen, since you want,
they have budget for it.
Since you want me to say what the government wants to hear, after not taking, after there's already enough venue for people to learn work. That's what you want to hear. But the aftermath of those people that have gotten that skill acquisition is not always now welcoming. You see that after you learn the work, sometimes 2 weeks or 3 weeks, tell me, what are you really going to learn for 3 weeks? Sometimes they say 3 months. Government hardly even do that of 3 months. Government only to give you a certificate of 7 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, how to train pigs, how to wear this, how to do that.
But some of them, they have 6 months training observed by the government.
Even if they have 1 year. But the aftermath of to say, okay, this is how to now start. You're not able to go and secure a loan at the Bank of Industry. That one is now where you now know that there's difference between June and July in trying to now secure a loan for what you've learned. Because if you don't also have a political godfather or somebody by your side, that is now also very hard. The issue of, there was one they did during the election that the vice president came sharing for the market women. I cannot really catch on the name now. 5,000 or 10,000 people. Did you see it going on again after those ones? My brother, how many people, if I decide to give you 10,000 naira today to go and start something, we should be factored to ourselves. Will you take it? If you take it, my brother, there's nothing you will use that for. But government will so polish it, advertise it, that so many people, they'll be taking them away from poverty market in giving 10,000. The government should be so factored to themselves. How many of their siblings or their direct relative, they will give 10,000 to start a job? But the reason the truth must be said.
All right, now you just hold on. I'll come back to you who want to go on a break. Mind you, whatever they say here is entirely their own opinion. It has nothing to do with ITV radio. Yes, the government gives an amount of money. Some are saying it's not enough. Others are saying yes, it can start off with it. Depends on the person the money is given to. We'll be right back after this break. Do stay tuned.
TMI, every opinion counts.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. It's all about skill acquisition, the impact, socioeconomic development. And I introduce a guest, or some guests. They are now here with us in the studio. I'd like to welcome formerly Barrister Alhaji Amin Alao. Welcome to the show, sir. I appreciate your coming. All right. So very close to him also is Barrister Thank God Iluegbe. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson, for having me.
Okay.
Good morning, viewers.
Well, Obari has started doing a wonderful job on this platform talking about this topic on the ground, and I'd like you, Alhaji, to share your thoughts and your opinion on the skill acquisition impact on socio-economic development from the angle of the youths complaining that even after acquiring this skill, no place to take off, no grants to take off. Why the older ones are like saying that the youths, they're not even interested in acquiring skills, talk less of getting the loans or the grant to kickstart whatever they've learned. Alhaji.
Thank you very much. The importance of skill acquisition cannot be overemphasized. officers. Let me start from there. We tasted colonialism, we tasted Western education. Our fathers then went to high school before they are out of college, you know, out of university. You already see jobs waiting for them. You pick and choose whichever one you like. You are like bride being competed for by suitors. Now it went on like that. There was nothing like problem of unemployment. In fact, it was we want more graduates. Let your people go to school so that we can absorb them into the system. Now that made us to start abandoning acquisition of skill and say, oh, that's an engineer, that's a medical doctor, he's a lawyer, he's a journalist. Oh, you mean see how much he's doing? Now we abandoned skill acquisition. And it went on and on like that, to the extent that while you are busy pursuing your degree, your so-called dropout, who dropped out of school, will go and learn mechanic. And then at the time you graduated, in your youth call service, you had already made a lot of money. You already have apprentices. And then you come out with your degree and you start going to the streets seeking employment. Now you are acquired the skill. So right now, everybody now appears to wake up suddenly that come, what you have abandoned, what you have neglected is of vital importance. We need to go back to that. Now let us acquire skill. Even the student of learning, ensure that as you are learning your theory, try to get something practical that you can fall into. Now, some have acquired the skill, some are yet to acquire. For those who have acquired the skill, depending on the skill you've acquired, there are some that are capital intensive, that you need a lot of capital to really establish. Then there's problem of where do I start from? I need loan, I need fund to kick off. There are some skills that require very little capital to take off. Then you now have the problem of youths who are not even interested in acquiring any skill at all. Some say, I want to go abroad. When I came, I served 24, 25, where I was deciding. The father kept telling me that encourage my children. They don't want to go to school. See, look at this young lawyer. He has left his father and mother. He's now in Benin. Then they wanted to go abroad. They were not interested in going to school. They were not interested in acquiring any skill. Now, so for those who are not interested at all in acquiring any skill, you want to go abroad. Now, we are talking of irregular migration. Don't call it illegal migration. Oh, don't go on land, oh, don't go by sea, oh, you may get drowned, oh, you may die in the desert, oh, and so on and so forth. Now, of course, we cannot stop people from migrating. Or if you want to migrate well. Now, coming back to the issue of skill acquisition. Skill acquisition is of utmost importance. For example, you have your car, you have a flat tire. How do you organize your car? You need a organizer, and he gets paid for that service. Calculate how much he makes in a day. Calculate how much he makes in a week, then multiply it in a month, and see how much you get as salary from an employer of labor. It's not comparable. You just want to show off. You want to put on the tie and put on the suit. That is what we are interested in. But how about the real cash?
Right. The real cash now. I'll come back to you on that. Barrister Fine God, what are your opinions on this? Because he has spoken at length, given reasons why some youths are just the way they are. They don't want to acquire skills.
For me, I think the challenge has been improper information. You see, as a nation, when we started experiencing external influence, which is colonialism, the need to get some persons occupy these white-collar jobs that were available as at that time drove us into making sure that everybody was not pursuing the white-collar job. Because then it was quite attractive, it was made attractive, it was beautiful as it were. We abandoned farming, we abandoned skills acquisition, and then again we have oversaturated that market, the white-collar job market. People are graduating, no job anywhere. Now it is now time for us to start canvassing skills acquisition. I think the government had done a lot of setback in terms of approaching these issues. All over the world, everything is done moderately. Whether going to farm, whether skills acquisition, whether even the formal education system. And so you see that an economy is growing because the areas that need to be attended to, they have the requisite personalities to address those issues and those areas. But in our case, we find a situation where we either overplay one particular thing at the expense of the other, and later we'll start running back, trying to address that issue. So it's a whole back and forth situation, and it is not good for the nation. And the reason is because government is not giving information properly, they are not enlightening us properly, and we even, who are the citizens, it appears we do not know what to do. For instance, you see the truths or the emphasis, the desire to go for formal education has been so charged such that it is only those who appear to have not been able to go for formal education, that is, they failed their exams, they are not supposedly intelligent, that eventually were asked to go and learn a trade, go and do mechanic, go and do vulcanizer. Why did we jump into those conclusions? How did we get to that level where it will be that it is those who appear not to have been able to pursue education that are not going for those? It's a whole lot of somersaults, because there are so many intelligent people who ought to even be in the mechanics section, the engineering section, the practice section. So many intelligent people who ought to be in the vulcanizing section. They don't have to be dropouts from the university. They don't have to be dropouts from the secondary school. If you say this is what I want to do, your parents should allow you to do that particular interest that you have at heart. But we find a situation where all the parents, supposedly because they saw one man wearing suit and tie and walking on the street, I say, I want my son to be like that. I want my daughter to be like that. They should be wearing suit. Can a mechanic wear suit while on duty? It means suit wearing is for a particular system, a particular sector. It doesn't necessarily make him better off. But these are the challenges we have. And psychologically, it affects our younger ones. The children who are growing up, they see the emphasis the parents are placing on those who supposedly went to formal education, who as of today now are having serious setback because having graduated, no sector. And skills acquisition all over the world is the basis for development.
Right.
It's the basis for development. There's no way an economy can develop without skills acquisition. The industrialization, the banking reforms, they were all a function of one man's skill acquisition, ideas being put into use, which eventually metamorphosed into these big organizations that all of us are looking for jobs in now. So therefore, I think that we need to restructure the narration such that those who are acquiring skill, for instance, if you're a mechanic, for instance, government should give you the necessary encouragement. The individuals around, you metamorphose from just that mechanic into industrialization. That is how it begins all over the world.
I'll come back to you now. You just hold on. Now he talked about the coloration of these skills. It's not about wrong correlation or coloration in our society, that there is this mindset then and even now that all these skills are meant for dropouts, in quote, not knowing fully well that whether you be in school, being a graduate, PhD holder, your passion should be your passion. You can be studying, still become a mechanic if you really want to be. Now, talking about what he said, is it really true about the blame games? Like, this is now the blame game, that the coloration of skill acquisition is what is affecting Nigerians today?
Yeah, what he has said is the truth, but just there was the English of coloration was what you are using to color it now, for just to deceive me. But I listened well, and to me, what he has said is true. So the truth is that people no longer believe in those people that have skills, mentality, low mentality. Our belief is that a mechanic, you that is a graduate, you see yourself far 1 million times better than a mechanic. But the truth must be told. By God's special grace, I'm a civil engineer. I've said it times without number. You cannot compare Papa Ese, that has been sitting at Iyao, no supervises, for the past 18 to 24 years. His wealth of experience in civil work, to a first-class graduate in the university civil work. Papa, I said that sits at Yahoo, and you see him in the morning, or he goes, in the afternoon he goes. We tell you, without even thinking, you need 42 bags of cement, you need 30 sheets of sand, you need so and so, you need this to get this one. It does not need a buy, we cannot calculate it. He will just tell you. And by the time you do what he has told you, my brother, you will see that it's just a little difference or balance. But because Papa I say he has showing sticks and it's not looking good, you don't want to believe in him. You want to believe in that one that want to put a helmet on his head, go buy one paper, start speaking English and tell you this one will take this one, that one will take this one. At the end of the day, you see the building collapsing. Experience, to me, is better than classwork. Classwork, what it does is a little spice to what you just need in life. My leader has said about the vulcanizer. My brother, you don't know the value of a vulcanizer until when your tire goes down. Maybe as just coming out now, you need to rush to church, dash to church, and the next your tire is down. You can change it, but you can't pump it. Except you have a spare. If you don't have a spare, if a vulcanizer is at a Kiadolo, you must go to a Kiadolo to go and meet him. This one does not need a book now. I was jokingly telling my friend a few days ago, I said, I'm here to see a vulcanizer that is packaged. You must see a deformity. You see that dev, but their money, 200, 500, they collect on daily basis, not at night. At night it's about 1,000 because they know you will not leave your car as at that point. So tell me your salary, Wilson, and I will tell you a vulcanizer that receives times 10 of your salary. I will just point one or two to say, go to this one at Yahoo, go to the other one. Also tell me, I will tell you, my former Toyota mechanic, Friday at my father's junction, that uses a computer, he's not a graduate. But he has now so experienced in the field that he now knows that with computer you can do it. You just go there, he drives it in and see, tell you, okay, you need to change the clutch, you need to change this, you need to change this. But for me to have even used the computer in your car is 10,000. He's not going to fix it. But for me to tell you it's just like a doctor giving you a prescription. This is what you are going to buy, but give me 10,000 naira first. My brother, will you get 10,000 naira for just today for somebody talking to you? No, you won't. Are you getting? So, to me, the coloration, we be so naive in believing you must be a graduate, you must be this, and it has taken our time. It has really taken us far back. Compare our economy now to China. What they do in China is, as you are going to school, you are learning handwork. The two must go per, so you cannot drop one for the other. What stops us from Nigeria also changing the nomenclature of NYC to say immediately you finish your school with your certificate, that 1 year, go and use it to learn a handwork.
Okay.
Either if you don't want to learn a handwork, join the military or join the police for that 1 year to help us also fight security. So to me, you will see the economy of Nigeria getting stabilized if all graduates by that time, okay, no need. For this 1 year, let me go and learn how to barb hair. My brother, people that cut people hair this period in a good civil environment are in money. Not just money, cool money, because I'm sure now the last time you bought for 200 or 300 naira was long. It's now 500, and it's going like that. You know, in Nigeria, things don't come down.
All right, I will come back to you, Obara. You want to talk about the inflation. I want to talk about inflation right now, but you've given a very strong point and, of course, very strong views about the importance of skill acquisition. Now, despite the cash, you talked about Alhaji, and they also talked about the cash in comparison per day, per week, per month, how much you garner as a skilled worker. How come the youth are not interested?
Now, one of the reasons why the youth are not interested, apart from the influence of the government, we have the parental factor as well. You have some parents who want to force a career on the child. It is very, very long. Almighty God has given every child a talent. Everyone has been given special talents. All you need to help your child to discover is help him to discover his talent. And then assist that child to be able to go in line with that talent, that natural given talent. While that child is exhibiting that talent, that talent. The child appears working, but it's not working. As far as he's concerned, he's just playing. And he'll be paid for playing. Because that is what he likes doing. He enjoys doing it. He wants to go and do it. He will not be late doing it. He will not be tired doing it. And he will be getting paid doing it. I give an example of my own elder brother. He was a sports writer. He likes football so much. He's now the MD complete professional football. He likes sports so much. Now, when he read Mascom, he was looking for a job. Anywhere he goes, they say, bring experience. He had no experience. So eventually, he met someone who just the publisher complete football. And that one said, okay, he says, for now, I want experience. I don't want money again. And I said, okay, we'll absorb you. But what we do, we give you transport fare. Then $250 per month as a transport fare. But the first month, when they saw his performance, the first month, they quickly absorb him and put him on salary. That is the talent. Before he goes elsewhere, I better grab him. When Sonny couldn't pay salary again, he said, okay, let the partners now. Let the partners now. So that he doesn't go elsewhere or to establish his own. So each time he believes he's playing, but meanwhile he's working and he's telling people. So the parents should always try to discover the talent of their children and then assist them towards that talent. Then also we have the part of cultural transmission. You see, a superior culture.
Superior culture.
Yes, it's always overtaking the inferior one. And that explains why up to today we wear tie in our courts and suits in our courts. The judges must wear the wig. Meanwhile, it is not the wig that gives the judgment. It is your knowledge. So even if you are wearing agbada, as an advocate, it is not the gown you are wearing that advocates in court. It is what you have read, the law you have read. If you are not prepared for your case, you wear the wig and gown, you fumble in court. So why are we still wearing that? We should encourage our culture. You see NTA, if you watch NTA news, at the time, you see the newscasters are always on native attire, male or female. Male or female. There's a point there. Let us encourage our culture. But now, the problem we are even having now is the cultural transmission has affected our language. Some of our own children, including myself now, cannot speak the native dialect because of this influence of the superior culture. You speak English. So very soon now, our languages will be wiped off. Then theory versus practical. That's another thing. I've already mentioned it. Theory versus practical. This happens in place of worship too. You see theoretical pastors, theoretical imams. They cannot practicalize what's in the scripture. They can only know the theory and give the verses. So when you start hearing that a pastor sleep with somebody's wife and imam embezzles money, don't be surprised. They are theoretically sound, but practically nowhere. Because they are not following the teachings of Christ or Muhammad. But theoretically, they know all on their head. The same thing applies to education. And that's where the skill comes in. Now, skill is saying not theory, practicalize it. So, learn the practicals, because that is what actually matters. And then, as time goes on, you will see that we need to sit for common entrance, or call it JAM, or call it post-JAM, post-UME, before you gain admission to a mechanic workshop. The time is coming. Because now, oh, JAM, 1 million start for JAM, 1,000 per, this and that, okay, after JAM, post-UME, you are screening, collected money. Now, but for many mechanics now, many of those who are having good skills, they say, where you apprentice? You don't want to learn job, nobody want to work again. Or sometimes they automobile electrician, where you apprentice? I bet you don't want to come out, you still want to go JAM, you want to travel. But a time will come when you will need to now sit, note it. The mechanic is okay, set exam for them. I want to be the best among them. Because you will not see a mechanic that will absorb you. Hope it will not get to that before the parents start realizing now. And it's time we start encouraging our children to go and acquire skills. And this, of course, will have positive impact on our socio-economic development.
All right. Thank you so much, Alhaji. Now, let me come to you. He talked about persons not willing, because that seems to be the case right now. Like what I said during the course of opening the show, a man was like complaining, Wilson, nobody wants to learn. You know, he's a furniture maker, what you know as carpenters. Everybody wants to learn. A mechanic also the same thing. Everybody wants to go to Europe via Libya. Everybody's leaving. Nobody wants to get their hands dirty or get their hands soiled. But there is this aspect of persons that came out willingly to learn. They finished learning, but are saying, Wilson, no money to start off, no loans to start off. And moreover, it's like we're getting more and more in number learning the same thing. How do we survive?
First and foremost, I think that generating revenue or resources is part of the intelligence of an entrepreneur. You and I will agree that immediately you set up an organization, or a small outfit such as a mechanic shop, you are also expected to generate the resources that are required to run that shop. But we have a whole lot of problems. And it boils down again to the ignorance I mentioned before. You see, when we have a system where the government assists you to make things better for you, you thank your God, you thank your stars. But again, we live in a system where it appears government have failed in virtually most areas, if not all areas.
But the government would disagree with that. After all, they
yes,
have some
they are entitled to their opinion, but we will get to a point where we will need to know the true issues, as it were. How many of these mechanics, how many of these skills operators that have been empowered by the government in terms of percentages, you see that most of them have not. However, that's not my argument. My argument is that when you get to a system where nobody helps you, what do? You think. The brain must work. All over the world, the brain has been working, and it is the brain that determines where the resources go. You understand? So if, for instance, you have made up your mind that, oh, government is not yet giving you response, what do? Do you fold your hands and sleep? It's not so. It's not done anywhere. Everything that you have seen as a success today amongst individuals, they started from little or nothing. But today, there are those you can think of associating with. Why? Because they use their brains within the ambits of the law reasonably to achieve whatever they have achieved. So in my view, nobody should sit at home and say, I don't have resources. It's not an excuse. Oh, the government is saying it will not borrow me, they will not borrow me loan or give me facilities. It's not an excuse. I see a lot of this. I was talking to some of my friends who are mechanics some days ago. I said, most of you have houses. Most of you have cars. And you sit down and complain that you don't have money to establish your business. Where did you get the money to build the house? Where did you get the money to buy the car? Is it not that same job? Why didn't you use it to invest and expand on your business? You spent over 10 million, because if you don't know, gradually, the money used in building a house is close to 10 million, 7 million, 8 million. You spent it, you generated it from your mechanic workshop within a space of 10 years. You spent everything building a house to live as a landlord. Then the business that is generating the money, as it were, you have ignored it and left it at that low level. It's your own choice, because you didn't know how to expand. And that is why we keep emphasizing the formal education. Because it appears that it is those who understand the formal education that knows how to actually reinvent their business from one stage to another. But if you do not have some of those knowledge, you just say, if I build a house, I have a car, I think train my children, I'm okay. But the business which ought to have expanded to an industrialized position is kept at that low level, making it unattractive for the younger ones. Because when they come, I said, what's wrong in you, a mechanic? You wear suit and you stay in your office and be giving directive to your boys. And they're working. And then if somebody else sees you, a young man who is trying to be a mechanic, and sees the director wearing suit, post somewhere, just giving instruction, money coming to, the man will be interested. It's all about packaging. The difference between a native doctor and a pastor is packaging. There's no business. It's packaging. The native doctors refused to improve, and the pastors took advantage of it, packaged, rebuked their business, and they've taken business away from them. And so these are the things. You see, you must understand how the society plays and know how to work with it so that minimally you are also at par with those that are your comparatives, as it were.
Yeah.
That's my view, sir.
All right, Obaraye. Now, it's like we've been hammering on this for quite a while now about skill acquisition. And of course, we see reasons also that some persons don't really want to have that zeal to work because of the get-rich-quick mentality. How do we cure it of the youths right now? Because we've been talking about this over and over again, but it's like their mind is just made up, their mind is set. They want to leave the shores of the country like what Alhaji talked about. They want to just get it once and for all without having their hands dirty. They might even blames on the government saying, you don't give us loan. We have skills right now. How you encourage us to like come back here to learn and to establish?
It all boils down to the government. We must be factored to ourselves. On this one, I love citing cases. Rwanda, the fastest growing economy in Africa as we speak today, had a fourth war, homicide. Their own was, you hear so and so, 22,000 people, 10,000 people, 15,000 people perished. As we speak today, the government has woken up and give the citizens new orientation. So our government should wake up to call. This is a call to service. They should. Nothing stops us to see our government, the president of this country, instead of going overseas for hospital to attend the one at Abuja or the one in Lagos or come to UBTH. Then it will be so stupid for a commissioner to not leave to where to say you want to. So our government should first of all believe in what they are governing. You get your money is from this place. Nigerians are the one paying you. So you cannot live here and tell us the doctors that are the best in the world are the one that treats you in maybe in Kuwait or so and so place. So why not the people in Kuwait don't come here for treatment? Why not also give here that way to make sure here is also good? Now, brother, take time to read about the new Rwanda. Now, Rwanda no longer believe in division. What they believe in is I'm a Rwanda person. But if you want to tell me here now, I'll tell you I'm I will not tell you I'm a Nigerian, I'll tell you I'm an Edo person, a Benin person. So there's already a division to where I'm coming from. So I will first of all start thinking like an Edo man, a Benin person, before thinking like a Nigerian. But our mentality should be I'm a Nigerian. The issue of the North is president, this one is president. So you can see politically, structurally, Nigeria is not well managed. He said, for ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. The truth is that our government does not even believe in Nigeria. The place called Nigeria, they don't believe in it. That is why you see, since 1990 date, every year budget since 1999, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway has been there appearing, and we are appearing on that same budget.
But don't say that they believe in Nigeria, that Nigeria is a project.
That's since 1999. But these said people now, you will see them, from one room in 1999, they were in one room in 1999. But today, their palace where they live altered the syringe environment. So if you can make your place that you built within 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, you now have an empire, you now have your private jet moving, and it's not grounded. How come you cannot also now have Nigeria Airways moving not grounded? How come you cannot also put what you've done to say, this is the place I live? How come you can also say, okay, the hospital they treat me in UK, the hospital I go to in America. If you've gone there and you were sick, now you are better, the doctor say you are okay. You should also now see around to say, human beings are the one that did this one. Come, Oga, how was this place built? How is this place managed? Come, let's come and put it at Ipoba, or come, let's come and put it at Anambra. The world has gone dig it out. You don't even need these people. If you sit down and Google it, how can I build the best hospital in the world? Google will show it to you. How can I build the best stadium in the world? Google will tell you to say the one in Brazil was built by Julius Berger. The one in so and so place was built. Go to Rwanda now is building the best sports facilities in Africa, and it's moving for them. They want to also start anything they are doing now. They want the best. How? Their youth now we even want to talk about education, but you must also learn skill acquisition. The government is part of it. The president was supposed to follow our own president to the last summit they went to, and he said, no, for me to go, it will be more expensive. Why not let the ambassador of my country there, one or two persons meeting, and you attend? This is my letter. You take it, give it to the ambassador, read it there on my behalf. Instead of us wasting the resources. This money will also reach us in doing another thing. So that is why I say sometimes the Nigerians, our leaders don't believe in us. If they believe in us, they know you've been bleeding this country since 1960. And God is still making sure this country does not go down. Why not forgive this country to say, okay, let's also do this country right?
All right,
tell me what is good in this country, and I will tell you 62 things that are not good in this country.
Anyway, we have so many good things in this country, and our leaders believe in this country. They are doing their best possible to make sure that Nigeria becomes an El Dorado. After all, we are the giants of Africa. Now, he talked about believing in the country. Is it that the youth, they no longer believe in the country? And if yes, what should be done to make them believe in the country, hence giving them the assurance to go acquire skill? Al-Haji.
Thank you very much. If you look at the way we are being governed in the country, when we attained independence in 1960, and up to now, we are not actually practically independent. In fact, we are over-dependent. We are over-dependent. The youth will not be encouraged to believe in the country. They will not be encouraged to believe in the country unless they want to also be absorbed in the deceit and the hypocrisy going on in the country. Because they see things for themselves. And now the world is a global village. From your telephone handset, you see a lot of things that goes on around the country, around the world. Now, so if you now see that the giant of Africa, so-called the most populous nation in the world, cannot actually perform in line with expectation, then you lose faith in the country. Now, for example, we attained independence since 1960. Now, but what we are really perfect in is tribalism, sectionalism, nepotism, all those things. We are very good at that. Yes. The councillor must come from my village. The president will come from my state. Yes, the governor will come from my town. This that will come from my room. That is what we are interested in. We have been tailored towards that, and we are still along that line. We are not interested in the quality. We are interested in whoever should be there. Let's be my person, and they have not been helping us at all. And we need to have a think until Nigeria will have a northerner being the governor of Lagos State, and an Edo man being the governor in Nasarawa, and a man in Bayelsa being the governor in another state, then we have attained it. Yeah. Arnold Schwarzenegger was a governor in America. He was not from there. So until we leave all this nepotism and we put religion on our head, Jesus, Muhammad, this and that. Jesus is not from Nigeria. Muhammad is not from Nigeria. If you can believe in a foreign Jesus and a foreign Muhammad, then why can't you now come to your senses and say, come, if I can believe in Muhammad and Jesus is not from Nigeria, then I should believe in a fellow Nigeria who is not from my state. If he's good, let him be there. For example, now, since independence, we cannot manufacture very good wristwatch. From wristwatch to aeroplane, the bulletproof cars you want to use. If you really want to practice tribalism, say yes, the wristwatch I wear must be manufactured from my village. The car I drive must be made from my village. If I want to travel on Hajj or Jerusalem, I must enter an aircraft manufactured from my village. Otherwise, I will not go. That is how to practice tribalism. Then you now wake up and see that actually you are still dependent. You are not independent at all. So we should drop. And Nigeria is celebrating 59 years independence. What are they celebrating? You can only mark it. You can commemorate it. You don't celebrate failure.
No, hold on now. Alhaji, watch your emotion. We didn't fail. We've not failed. Even if it's your opinion, we've not failed.
We have succeeded.
We've not failed.
We have succeeded in all this notwithstanding, ensuring that we have a peaceful nation. After the Civil War, we have been able to be tolerant. We are not at war. That is a very big plus for Nigeria. and Nigeria remains a united nation, even though it is pretense. Without pretense, we are managing to war. Without pretense, very good. We have not gone to war. I will not go to war. But we need to actually learn and ensure that Benin, Auchi, or Kenya Road is properly put in place so that the 1 hour journey will not be 5 hours journey. And we see we have a government. So the youth, seeing all this happening around them, how do you think the youth will encourage? They will lose faith in the country. So if the government wakes up and then do the needful, of course, the youth will be proud of being Nigerians. They will no longer want to go outside the shores of the country. So the xenophobic attack in South Africa will no longer happen. It will be again Ghana must go. We are not saying to discriminate, but it was there, it was Ghana must go. But now, it's from Ghana, it's Nigeria must go. So we need to actually wake up so that our youth can actually be encouraged to have faith in the country.
All right, having faith in the government, having faith in the country. Well, please, gentlemen, I'd like to admonish, please watch our emotions, because you almost lost it there by saying failure. We don't entertain that, because I have to speak positively for our country, to our country, and of course in our country. Still on youth, I'll talk about skill acquisition, because if time permits, we'll delve into street trading, but that will be, by the way, if time permits. Now, we have various skills acquisition center, governmental and non-governmental. They've been calling. So they have placed adverts, social media, electronic media, print media. Please come one, come all. Irrespective of your tribe, your religion, whatever, just come and learn. And these centers are spending money on practically nothing, because some of them don't even have an intake. They are willing to teach. People are not willing to learn. How can we remedy this?
The last speaker has spoken extensively as to how we can address such attitude. The challenge we have here is that children or youths, as it were, copy what they see more than what you tell them. The system is such that who is your mentor? Who do you try to look like? Who do you try to imitate? And that becomes your basis for decision making. You say, come and acquire skills. To look like who now? Who are we going to look like and say, because of skills acquisition, this man has eventually developed himself to this level and all that. Even those who have developed themselves, as it were, the packaging, the adverts about them are so minimal compared to the noise we hear from the other environment. When you become a professor or a doctor in your community, they make a whole lot of noise about it. Then if you add a little money to it, they give you a chieftaincy title and all that. But how many mechanics have backed chieftaincy title in this country? How many organizers? So when you look at it, the youths and the children look at them and say, these guys are the left out or they not do well in the society. Why should I crave to be like any of them? So I think that there's going to be a whole lot of reorientation, which the government will play a leading role, just the same way they emphasized going to the formal sector, the educational formal sector many years ago, such that everybody was now in that environment. They should take that same energy, that same zeal to start to repackage and advertise skills acquisition and make obvious those who have succeeded, because we have a lot of people who have succeeded in some of these things but are not packaged. I was with somebody some days ago. I saw some things which he has packaged and repackaged, but it will not be on air. But those who have not done such, who have not even achieved that feat, are on air making noise and all that. So I think there's a whole lot of reorientation that we need to do as a people. And then outside government, like I earlier mentioned, you need to sit for yourself. That's what I tell all of us. Even the youth, sit down and do some little thinking. Do some analysis. Do some stratification with your brain. After all, we blaming this, blaming that, blaming this, blaming that. Obviously, they are also human beings and they have their imperfections. So you as an individual need to sit down and ask yourself, what do I really need? What is the country ready to offer? And if the country is not ready to offer, what can I do for myself? And I think if you sit down one day over a period of time, you'll be able to achieve whatever you want to achieve. But the situation where we sit down and say government, because in my own little way, in my own little understanding, I think government to a large extent think they are doing their best, even when they are doing nothing.
Because
yes, because when you look at the system,
them, they are doing their best.
Yes, they think they are doing their best, and with that satisfaction, because the job of being a leader is enormous in this system. Let's be frank with ourselves. When you are in the office where you need to dish out a benefit to others, you see that.
All right, now you just hold on. Now we want to go for a break. When we return, we'll come back to conclude this discussion. We'll be right back. Do stay tuned.
TMI, every opinion counts.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. Lots and lots of programs lined up this season, and Trust ITV Radio will always at the forefront, giving you wonderful, wonderful and exciting programs packaged just to spice the Yuletide. Anyway, it's all about skill acquisition, impact on socio-economic development, and my guests have been so wonderful, giving reasons why this is this and that is that. When we talk about skill acquisition, the youth, the government, the economy. Gentlemen, you are going to have or get a last, how will I put it now, your summary, so to speak, on this discussion. You'll be addressing the government and, of course, the youths, even the economy, so to speak, in your last line for this discussion. I want to start off from you, Obaraye. What advice do you have for the youths, the government, and of course, teaming unemployed persons out there that have gone above being called a youth, so to speak, what they should do?
Yeah, my advice goes this way, simple. The reason is that my advice is that the youth should not just lost hope. They should know that whatever they learn and work they learn will go to the grave with them. You can misplace your certificate. The school can retrieve your certificate to say, one with your marshal, we want to retrieve your certificate. But nobody can retrieve your handwork. Nobody is going to go with you anywhere. If you go to the desert today and you are alone, what will speak for you is your handwork. So they should not think that learning and handwork is should put them down. They should also see it as an avenue of learning something that they will use and enjoy for the rest of their life. My very good friend Jude, that was cutting my hair about 10 years ago around Victory Street. Today, he's one of the richest friends I have in UK. He continued with his barbing skill, and he told me that to cut hair in UK is about 15 to 30 pounds. My brother sit down and calculate it with close to 500 naira. So I'm not sure a doctor in UBTH receives what Jude, that is a barber, receives in UK. So whatever you learn here, you don't know where you are going to also use it tomorrow. Then when he was learning it, some of us were busy going to school, pursuing education. But today, he has got houses in Lagos, Benin, everywhere. So you should not be deterred. And you didn't also add that our parents should be very encouraging in doing this one, because whatsoever a child will become, first of all, is the mother that and the father to say, okay, I want my child to become a journalist. No, just the way Alhaji said it. The child, on your own as a father or a mother, you should already know that this child is what he wants. Think of it if J.J. Okocha was forced to be a doctor. Think of it if somebody like Davido that said now was working in the bank. So where would that be the 30 billion coming from? So so we should allow whoever wants to do something, do it.
All right.
Because there is nothing that is wasted. Nothing in life is of waste. Even the sand on the floor, you need it when you want to build the house. So our government should also make sure they start seeing those that have HND, NCE, and BSc as one. They should also see the mechanic as the same kedar, even better off than a mechanical engineer. Just the little thing is packaging. The mechanical engineer and the one at Iyao is packaging.
All right.
The one at Iyao can be trusted
right.
if you take a packaged mechanical engineer just to support.
Thank you so much, Obaye. Thank God. Your last line is discussed.
My take on the skills acquisition is the fact that government has to wake up, because no matter how bad or difficult things may appear, the government needs to still give a direction on where we should go. I think skills acquisition has come to a level where it could be made compulsory. It should even be made compulsory, because you see that the reason why the formal education is attracting the kind of influx of people is because of the attention government gave to it over the years. For so many years, even up to date, they are still pumping so much money into that sector, unlike the skills acquisition sector, which appears to be the informal section now. The government should make it upgraded, increase the input of resources into it, and if possible, make it compulsory. So that whether you are doing the formal education system, you are also doing the informal education or the skills acquisition system along the line, such that over a period of time, all of us will have both sides at our beck and call, and then you don't have to be relying on government for everything.
Well, thank you so much, Barrister. Thank God. Barrister Lau, your last line on this.
Thank you very much. You've already addressed the issue of government. I will leave government alone for now. I want to also encourage the philanthropists, so-called, to stop engaging in what is called misplaced generosity. For the youths who have acquired skill, who need some money to invest, then the philanthropists in our society should be able to have a way of reaching them, to really assist them. We should not only be interested in giving scholarship to study, but those who have acquired skill, we should also look for a way of assisting them to also take off. Not only the philanthropists, then the big companies, the big companies that we have in the nation. They should also take it as a point of duty to assist. We should not rely on government alone. Government should also play their role, of course. And then very, very importantly, we should abandon the culture of extravagance and try to patronize made in Nigerian goods. Because if those who have acquired the skill, they produce something or we are not ready to patronize their services, then we're back to square one. For example, let me quickly chip in this. A furniture maker said he visited a big man. And in his house, big man said, "Oh, how much do you sell this set of chairs in your factory? I bought this from UK for so pounds." The furniture maker said, "It's a real life story." And in Benin, "I produced that furniture. That is my set." He said, "You can't be serious. What I imported from UK, landed in Lagos. John, why not the driver that I brought from Lagos?" I said, "I'm saying that is my set. I produced it." I said, "What are you joking?" "I'm not joking, sir. If you allow me to move near, I will show you my tag under it." And he moved near and he lifted the chair and he said, "Is it not my tag?" So what happened? This item was imported to UK and now brought back to Nigeria. And instead of it being sold for 10 naira, it's now sold for 1,000 naira. Packaging. So packaging. Then the youth, we should now spend less time on social media. Facebook, that will not allow you to face your book. Twitter, Instagram, WhatsApp, social media generally, let's spend less time on that. And of course, again, if the youth acquire skill, it should be easy for them to also be socially balanced. They're talking on the impact on socio-economic. Is that not correct?
Yes.
Many youth now at 40 are not married because there is no money. There is no means to get married. If you acquire the skill, you start making some money, find what's happening, you can now embark on marriage. We are happy that our brother is getting ready to go into marriage. Mr. Wilson,
I know you're coming to that. I know you're coming to
I'm sure you're surprised enough to do that. then finally, I do not mean to run down the country when I said that we have failed. Independence till now, that we should not celebrate, we should be counting so that we can improve. For example, if you look at the value of pounds and naira in 1960, look at the value of pounds and naira now. And you now determine yourself whether we have actually passed and we need to be celebrating. Finally, we should encourage our youth to shun cultism by getting them engaged in skill acquisition.
All right. Thank you so much, Alhaji. Thank you, Barrister Thank God Ilwegbe. Thank you, Obaraye Osahan. Yeah, two legal practitioners and political analysts. A wonderful show. Well, you talked about my wedding. Hope you're coming with the gifts and the support and all of it. I mean, just keep it coming. Keep it coming. Anyway, that's it on the show this morning. Go acquire skills. Trust me, even if you go abroad, it's your skills that will show forth. What do you learn how to do? What have you learned to do? What can you do? What can you present? All right? A seed can only grow anywhere it's been tossed to if that seed has value. Make your life have value by acquiring the skills. No matter your degree, go learn something. It will eventually pay off. And that's it from all of us here in the studio. Have a wonderful Sunday. Bye for now.